Let's roll. Let the madness in as the madness has begun. We're about 72 hours away from Selection Sunday, and there's going to be more than a handful of coaches that are going to be on the hot seat on Sunday, wondering if they qualified for what is now a 68 team tournament. Miami, Ohio are no longer undefeated. UMass knocks off Miami of Ohio, and you would figure that a basketball team that came into the day with an undefeated record would feel pretty comfortable about their position. Yet for a 31-1 basketball team, the Miami Redhawks have a lot of stressing out to do over the next 72 hours. Now, for the record, I'm not a big fan of the bracketology and all this type of stuff, and I find it super annoying that a bunch of super nerd geeks tell us who deserves to be in a tournament and who doesn't. But with that being stated, numbers don't lie. And even though Miami are 31-1, their numbers aren't very good. And in fact, right now, ESPN's bracketology, as far as the percentage is concerned, they have a 38% chance now of making the tournament only. 38%. So the thought is that they probably do not get into the NCAA tournament. Now, breaking this down at this juncture of the week is a little early because other spots could be taken. Like if you're Miami, Ohio right now, the last thing you need is for some weird team to win their conference tournament, right? And then steal another spot. You want all these other teams on the bubble to lose. Auburn, for the record, did lose. They got it done yesterday, but they just lost to the Tennessee Volunteers. So, when it's all said and done, I think Miami are going to end up in one of the play-in games. I don't think they're going to want to leave out a 31-1 basketball team. The optics, the public optics, the public are on Miami's side. But at the same point in time, the NCAA basketball committee are pretty ruthless, right? They are pretty ruthless. And I think there is a conversation to be had whether we should expand it or not. A lot of people believe, no, 68 is enough. But the fact of the matter is, there's a million more teams than there used to be, right? Like when there was 64 and whatnot. I mean, we have to evolve over time. So I won't panic if we added another couple of teams to the NCAA tournament, but I'm also fine the way it is. Like I said, if you're the 69th best team in the country, it's hard to really sympathize with you if you can't crack the top 68. But at the same point in time, it's not really that crystal clear. But Miami of Ohio, they danced with the devil a lot. They played a lot of close basketball games as of late against bad teams as well. That's their problem. You get taken to the brink by Clemson. You get taken to the brink by North Carolina or something like that, or by Kansas or Michigan, or, any sort of top-tier team, mid-tier team, name type of team. But they were playing close games against the Eastern Michigans of the world. Colby Dant will join us. I look forward to his take. Colby's been pro. I know he's been pro Miami should get in to the tournament more so than not. And we kind of expected them to lose at least once. So now, the debate is here. As I stated, ESPN's bracketology gives them a 38% chance of qualifying for the tournament only. We've got college basketball going on, obviously, all throughout the evening. But as far as games that have just tipped off, Grand Canyon, we're laying 3.5, 4, depending on when and where you bet it, against Nevada. They're off and running. It's 9-4 right now for the Lopes. They're still laying the 4.5, 138.5. You sort of have to respect the odds maker, but at the same point in time, I think this game is a complete toss-up, like a lot of these conference games are. I'm always a bigger fan, to be honest with you guys, of the mid-tier conferences and the smaller conference tournaments. They're actually playing for everything. They know, we don't win this tournament, we do not get in to the NCAA tournament. You get into some of the, the higher profile conferences Louisville and Miami today. They're both going to the tournament. They're both so evenly matched, and it was a super close game that came down to the wire. So as far as Nevada and Grand Canyon is concerned, and I like the Lopes. I mean, I follow Grand Canyon basketball pretty closely, but I wasn't in love with laying the 4 here. Akron, right now we're up by 3 on Buffalo, actually, with about 8 seconds left, and Duquesne are up on Rhode Island. At the half, they're up 35-28. Duquesne are laying 6.5 right now, lower scoring basketball game, 35-28 in-game total. At the half, 135.5. So unfortunately, no WBC tonight. We've had WBC baseball fever, but we've got a great bracket set. We'll be back at it tomorrow, and there'll basically be baseball on every day, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, to wrap up this tournament. So it's go time in the WBC. George Kurtz will step up, and then we'll get George's thoughts on the WBC. And suddenly, it's amazing, isn't it, that the USA are like overwhelming favorites to win this tournament again when their manager didn't even know like if they were in or not. He didn't even understand the format of this thing. And he keeps on doubling down that, oh, no, I knew, I just misspoke. It's like, whatever, dude, just let it go and move on. But I'm surprised that the odds makers really kind of haven't learned their lesson, right? Like the USA is 3-1, but they haven't looked great doing it. And their path isn't the easiest to win right now, right? Like if the USA would have won, their group and all that, it would have been a different scenario for them. And they're going to beat Canada, right? Canada did once beat the United States in a WBC, but it was in 2008. So what? Right? And Canada's scrappy, but they don't have the power that Italian team has. Like Italy wins games because they just sort of play the long ball and they can slug home runs. They don't get a lot of hits, but they get home runs. Canada, the opposite. Canada get a lot of hits, but they have a hard time cashing them in. So the USA is going to beat Canada. The assumption is that they do, and I think that they will. But they got to play the Dominican Republic after that. All right? And it's like, okay, you get through the Dominican Republic, that's only the semifinal. And then most likely you're going to play Japan after. You can make an argument that, hey, Italy goes on a run. You can make an argument Venezuela are still a dangerous baseball team. But I think personally it's going to be Japan that comes out of that side right now. So if you're the USA, the fact that they're such big favorites right now on the futures market, I don't agree with it. And I think the thought process is, well, they're going to look at the pitchers that they're going to have. They're going to have Paul Skeens. For the record, Skeens would pitch in the semifinal, potentially against the Dominican Republic. But we'll get into that with George Kurtz. Bam Adebayo was back on the court tonight. There's two ways of looking at this, guys. And I'm kind of, I'm intrigued by this in the sense it's, very similar. I think a good comparison, we were just talking baseball, a good comparison is when a pitcher throws a no-hitter. People in the betting world like to fade that guy the next start. It's like, listen, he's coming off a no-hitter. The media hype, he's hearing how great he is, and, the laws of physics, he'll return to reality. Now, I don't think Bam is going off for 83 tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. But with that being stated, his prop is 22.5. And he's been going over this number routinely, even without the 83 the other night. And then the other part of me is also wondering, the Washington Wizards are playing again tonight. And does somebody on Orlando just say, you know what? No, I'm going to go off against these guys right now. So we'll break it down. We'll go to the prop bet. NHL hockey. We got it all. Let's roll. All right, we're rolling along here on the SportsGrid Television Network. I am Gabriel Morency. As far as college basketball, we're going to have a ton of college basketball picks for you in a couple of minutes. Colby Dant's going to step up and in with us. We'll run through the card tonight, but there is a game tipping off at 6:30 that I do like. Give me Northwestern plus the points. We gave you Northwestern last night against Indiana, and I was going to say I'm not sure. I didn't think they were going to win the game outright, but they actually had beaten Indiana 6 straight times, and we talked about it last night, and they beat them outright. Northwestern are playing good basketball right now. They're getting 13.5. The number keeps climbing. Conference tournaments, guys, you got to throw out the regular season records. Look at current form. And right now, Purdue is burning money, and Northwestern are making money, and you're getting nearly 2 full touchdowns tonight in this basketball game. That's a 6:30 tip. And I also like Nick Martinelli to go over 22.5 points, which is Bam Adebayo's prop, but we'll get back to that. Let's bring in George Kurtz right now. George, you got a lot of stuff to break down, a lot of stuff going on, different sports. But your thoughts on the WBC. And I was just saying before you joined us, it's amazing to me that the USA went from wondering whether they were advancing or not to the sports books making them the overwhelming favorites again when they have to go through the Dominican Republic in a semifinal and then Japan most likely, and or maybe a Venezuela or whatnot in a final. It's not like they have an easy path anymore because they didn't win their group. They're not one of the higher seeds like everybody thought they were going to be. I wholeheartedly disagree that the USA should be overwhelming favorites, George. What's your take?
Oh, I agree with you, right? We discussed this before. I wasn't on Team USA before the tournament started. I thought it was Team Japan, Team DR. All right, I thought they were the 2 best teams for a couple of reasons here. And I think if nothing else, it's shown that it's more geared towards them, right? What did Team USA lose today, Gabe? A half dozen pitchers left? I mean, that's not a joke. I think it's 6 pitchers left Team USA. They went back to their teams today. Guys like Tim Hill are now on Team USA. It is, I mean, I've lost some of my luster for the WBC because the hitters may care, the pitchers don't. All right, they're all leaving. They don't want to pitch. Oh, I'm taking out of my rotation. I may not be able to start opening day. That was a line from somebody who left today. So he won't be able to start opening day if he stays with Team USA. So if they're not going to care, Gabe, it's hard for me to care. But as far as a betting perspective, why you would bet Team USA, I just don't know. Yeah, Logan Webb's going to pitch tomorrow, right? I think he'll pitch well. You'll get Paul Skeens. I think he'll pitch well. But he's not going 7, 8 innings. Who's going to pitch the last 4 innings of these games? And that's going to be a problem for Team USA. We sort of discount Canada there. We mentioned DR. I think they'll beat Canada as well, but I don't feel great about it. I don't feel so. I would bet Team USA straight up. I may put them in a parlay with one of the 2 hot games tomorrow night, but I just don't feel great about Team USA, and it's just how they're acting in general.
USA they catch a break, and it's funny, George, because Team Canada desperately wanted to win their group to avoid playing the USA. And ironically enough, Canada wins their group, but the USA doesn't, and Canada gets stuck playing the USA, the one thing they didn't want to do. The problem for Canada is, George, like Italy have power, right? As you know, you're a big Major League Baseball fan, so they have a bunch of dudes that can put the ball over the wall on Team Italy. Canada, if you'll notice, are more small ball. Right, Canada have a bunch of sort of, grinder major leaguers and or younger prospect like the KC kid, 23 years old, good hitter, but they don't have a ton of power, Canada. And I think if you're going to beat the USA, it's hard to go station to station because you're not going to get that many hits off these quality pitchers. You got to swing look at Italy the other night, bro. They were like 0 for 22, their top guys. Right, the other night they had one of the games, they had 3 hits, but they had 2 home runs and they win. They play the long ball, and it's working for them. So I think USA will be safe against Canada. But even with Paul Skeens, I got the DR beating the USA.
I agree. I have nothing to add. I agree with you 100% here. I have them beating Canada as well, and then it ends against DR. I think Skeens will pitch great. He may give up 1 run in 5 innings, whatever it might be, and then the bullpen, I think, is going to get crushed. I think it's going to be a big problem for them. Another problem with the Team USA, by the way, it's taking the offense too long to get going. Which is what a problem. You have all these power hitters. They need to see the pitcher once, twice here. It's taking them a long time to get going here. And I think that's also going to be a problem against the DR because I think they may be trailing 2-1 in the 6th, 2-1 in the 7th. And outside of Mason Miller, I don't trust any of those relievers.
All right, George. So we have a full slate of NHL hockey tonight, 14 games. So obviously we don't have time to break down every game. So I'll just ask you, what are you betting on tonight? What catches your eye the most in the NHL?
Yeah, I went with a parlay with the first two games on the slate here, right? I can't believe Buffalo might be the best team in the Eastern Conference here. I can't take them minus 210, although I don't think it's a bad price, by the way, against the Capitals team that played last night. But I'm not going to take them straight up. But I'll take them in a parlay with the Carolina Hurricanes, who will play with St. Louis Blues for the first two games. We're going to take both squads there. You're getting even money for both teams there. I can't see Buffalo losing this game, and Carolina might worry me a little bit, but not all that much against St. Louis, who I think might have played their Stanley Cup playoffs Tuesday against the Islanders when Braden Shen came back to town.
How about the Vancouver Canucks, George? It's amazing, isn't it? How about this stat? The Vancouver Canucks have not won consecutive home games all season long. Dude, like the season's nearly over. Think about that. They haven't won two. Like if you're a season ticket holder, you haven't seen them win back-to-back games once this year. And they played 31 home games, guys. They've won 6 of them, 6 times. Like the Washington Generals beat the Harlem Globetrotters more than this. Like they don't win at home. And you got the Nashville Predators, who aren't a perfect team, right? I mean, they've got their flaws, but they're battling for a playoff spot. So I'm going to take a page out of your book. I'm Captain Shock. I got to lay the 65 cents with the Preds tonight. And I'm going to go Captain Obvious here. I got to go over in the first period with the Oilers and the Stars. That's the game of the night tonight. What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, right. Oilers played a really good game the other night against Colorado, winning 4-2 there. Got a little break there on a not great call against McKinnon for the goalie interference there. The over is the must, right? It's what we're always doing with everything. So I'm with you there on the over first period. I'll take the over in the game as well. Dallas has played really well despite not having Mikko Rantanen, right? We don't know when he's going to come back here. I'm on the Stars. I think they'll take care of business tonight. They've also got a big winning streak going here. By the way, speaking of home teams, the Rangers finally won a game at home in regulation for the first time in 3 months the other day. Just some weird stats at home this year.
There's a lot. You want another one. The Seattle Seahawks have won more games in the last month and a half than the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right, we're rolling along here. Let's bring in Craig Mish right now from Florida. And I tell you what, there's been a lot of stuff going on in Florida this week between Bam Adebayo, the WBC, NFL free agency, a lot of stuff to break down. Of course, countdown to the Major League Baseball regular season is rapidly approaching. Craig Mish in the house. Craig, it's amazing to me that Bam pulls off this incredible feat, yet you'd think that he has punched Kobe Bryant's statue in the face outside the crypto.com arena in Los Angeles, like he's broken some sacrilegious record. It's amazing to me the sanctimoniousness of so many discussing his record, and there should be asterisks and all this other type of stuff. 83 is 83, bro, in my opinion. What's your take on the Bam? Not even like the performance, but the reaction and the fallout from it.
Yeah, by the way, it should be interesting tonight to see if he puts up the 2 most consecutive points in games tonight in the NBA, because that record is on the line too. You never know what could happen tonight also.
I like him tonight, Craig. Let me just throw it out there. And I know, being the fantasy guy that you are, you don't want to be late for the wedding and early for the funeral, right? You see all the time people in the fantasy football world, oh, he did this last week. He had 218 yards. Yeah, it was against a different defense. It was a different scenario. It's incredibly difficult to have 2 massive games back to back. His prop is 22.5 tonight. And with that being stated, Craig, he's gone over this number in 6 of his last 7 games. People say, oh, he's not a scorer. You're not watching Miami Heat basketball games. He's scoring 20 plus a night.
Yeah, and the Heat's the hottest team in the NBA going right now. In the East, they take on the Bucks, and the Bucks not known exactly for their defense tonight, so that could be in play. I think, Gabe, it's not so, look, I think that your point is accurate with the people being sanctimonious, but we're also living in an age where everything that happens is sanctimonious, and everything on social media is being questioned. There's nothing that isn't worth a click to most people at this point. So I guess for me, Gabe, I'm able to see through all that stuff. I feel like anything that happens in sports is going to be questioned just because somebody wants to say, look at me, or maybe one of these talking heads on television or streaming wants to get a better rating. But look, there's no denying it was one of the best games in the history of the National Basketball Association. And in terms of the free throws, the best player in the NBA right now makes a lot of free throws too. And somehow he was awarded the MVP of the NBA in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I don't get caught up in that.
No, you're right. And you got to understand exactly. A lot of the stuff is fake outrage. And it's just the dismissiveness of it to me, in which people, the negativity gets to be a little bit much, but nothing ever changes. It's funny, Craig, because Pablo Torre had a player on that was in the Wilt game, and he basically said that they were fouling. They did the same thing to get Wilt. He said, oh, they were up by like 25, and they were fouling to get the ball back so he could get to the 100. So it's just funny. We can go back 60 years, Craig. Like, it is what it is. Like, when you break these records, there's going to be, guys know, I want to get more. And I'm like you. I don't think too much of it, but I do just think it's kind of disrespectful to Bam Adebayo somehow. That, people like, because if Anthony Edwards did this, or if Victor Wembanyama dropped 83, nobody would care it was against the Wizards, bro. Right? No one would be like, oh, my God, we told you Anthony Edwards, the new face of the NBA. It just seems to bother people for some reason that Bam is the one that broke Kobe's record.
Yeah, I got to see through all that, Gabe. I don't know. I feel like if Anthony Edwards did it, they'd find a way to say it was a Minnesota team that nobody cares about. If it was Wemby, they would say, oh, he's just so big. Yeah. What do you expect? Nobody could stop him. I don't know. We're living in a very difficult time of sort of having to deal with social media and again, where ratings are king right now. A click is worth putting out. If you can say something that can get yourself attention, Gabe, it is better to do that than to be accurate, and that's unfortunate.
So over under tonight. I'm going to be the public square mark. I say over for Bam. I say he goes over 22.5 tonight.
Over 22? Okay, sure.
I mean, like you said, like he scored 18 against Milwaukee the last time they played. But it's difficult to, obviously, all eyes will be on him this evening. Another thing, you talk about people being negative, Buffalo Bill fans, there's a lot of frustration. A lot of people are like, "Oh, great, Bradley Chubb." They wanted Max Crosby or Hendrickson, but I actually like the Chubb signing. You saw him, 8.5 sacks coming off of surgery. I think he can help the Buffalo Bills. But we're already out of time with Craig. Nick, GTV continues. We're rolling along here. The madness has begun. Miami, Ohio, been dealt their first loss of the season. Auburn loses to the Tennessee Volunteers. We've got a couple of games going on right now as we speak, and we got a couple of games getting ready to tip off. Grand Canyon, the Lopes, have started to distance themselves a little bit. And in fact, they're on a little run right now, 25-16 over Nevada. Second half, Duquesne are up 46-39 on Rhode Island. But let's get to a game that's tipping off here right now. And let's bring in Colby Dant. It's always a pleasure, Colby. Great to have you to break down all these college basketball games. Let's go rapid fire so we can get to as many of them as we can. So Northwestern, Purdue. I told people earlier in the program, I said, you got to throw out like regular season records and perceptions of teams and sometimes look at current form. And right now, Northwestern's current form is really good. They're 5-1 ATS in their last 6. Martinelli, when you got a guy that's going to give you an automatic 22, 25 in a college basketball game, it doesn't hurt. Purdue have been burning money as far as covering numbers. These two teams played a close game a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm getting nearly 2 touchdowns, Colby. I took Northwestern last night plus the points against Indiana. I'm going back to the window with Northwestern again tonight. What's your opinion on the game?
Yeah, no, I was on Northwestern last night as well, and they probably should have beat Purdue a week ago, I think it was. I actually thought it would have been, because this would have been the third game in 3 days for Northwestern. I was thinking Purdue at 10. I think it opened at 10.5 was going to be what I was gonna jump on, but this thing's at 13.5 now that I'm seeing. I mean, what? How does it go up that much when they just played in Evanston, which this is in Chicago, which is, what, a hop, skip, and a jump away. 13.5, I think the play is Northwestern. It's too many points. Purdue's looked terrible the past 2 weeks. I think 13.5 is a really big number for I don't think it's deserving. I really just don't think it's deserving. So I think you have to take Northwestern at 13.5 at this point.
You know, it's funny. Every time, basically, you're right. Every half hour or so today throughout the day, the number has gone up. And I keep thinking, what am I missing? Is somebody out?
Yeah.
Is Martinelli not playing? And it was the same thing yesterday. People were taking Indiana. And I brought it up on the show last night. I said, Northwestern have actually beaten Indiana outright 6 straight times. They actually own them, right? It's one of those bizarro world type of deals. So speaking of teams playing their third game in 3 days, BYU Cougars and the Houston Cougars. So we have the Cougars versus Cougars here tonight. Obviously, another regular season matchup. Houston won the regular season matchup 77-66. What are your thoughts on this basketball game? And we know about Houston. They lost the 3 in a row and they got back on track. But as far as covering numbers are concerned, they are on a 1-7 ATS run, Colby. What are your thoughts on the BYU Houston Cougar game?
Yeah, and this is another one that has climbed up a little bit. It opened up at 7.5. I got in at 8.5. I see it at 9.5 right now, but I'm laying it with Houston. BYU, I was on them really the past 2 games against Texas Tech at home, and then I took them to take care of West Virginia, who I just think can't score anytime they're away from Morgantown. But this is a bridge too far to me. BYU is still without 2 of their best players on their roster, in Richie Saunders and Dawson Baker, and I just think that's too much. DeBance is a beast, but I think Kelvin Sampson will have a game plan intact to really make him work for every bucket, and they just don't have the Jimmies and Johns elsewhere. I just think athletically, Houston's going to take it to him. So I'm laying the 8.5 or 9. I would still lay the 9.5. I got 8.5, but I would still lay the 9.5. I think Houston's winning this by double digits there in Kansas City.
Swinging over to the East Coast and the Big East, Xavier and UConn, 16.5 points. UConn are another team. They haven't been a good, large favorite. There's been a lot of sweat job. They played down to their opponent a lot. There's been a lot of sweat job late, type finishes with their basketball games. And something that really caught my eye about this, number one, Xavier, and they're just an over machine, right? 9-1 to the over in their last 10 games. People don't think of UConn and overs, but they're 7-3 to the over in their last 10 games. And, oh, yeah, by the way, 8 of the last 10 times these 2 teams have played, it's gone over the number and been a higher scoring game. So I'm going to pass. I almost want to take the 16.5 with Xavier, but I am going to pull the trigger on the over, 150.5. Any opinion on that one?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with the over. I think that's what I would. I mean, look, if I had to play a side in this game, I think the Xavier Musketeers and the points is the play. They're in, they got blown out by this team twice this year. So I just think it's hard to sustain that 3 different times throughout the season here. But it is a UConn crowd. That's the one thing that gives me hesitation there, which there's better games out there that are bad ATS. But the over does make a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense here for all the reasons you just stated. So I think if I'm going to play anything there, I think it is the over. I think that's the best play you can actually play with this game.
Grand Canyon starting to pull away a little bit. Now they're up by 11, 32-21, a little under 5 minutes remaining in the first half. They're laying 9.5 now. The total's 145.5. Did you have an opinion on this one? They're pretty much closed at 3.5, 4. I'd say 3.5 was kind of the closing consensus number. So now they're laying 9.5. Do you think they pull away, or do you think Nevada get back in this?
I think at 9.5, maybe you would take Nevada, but this is one of my, I give away on my show the 3 best plays of the night, and this was one of them, Grand Canyon laying the number. I think a lot of people didn't realize, because they probably didn't watch the WAC over the past few years, that Grand Canyon plays the WAC tournament in Vegas as well, and that is a gigantic Grand Canyon crowd that shows up there each year. So, and then Steve Alford and Nevada are just, they're all over the place, it's almost the same thing that he did at UCLA, where hey, you can get up and beat a good team, but then when you're taking on Oregon State the next night, they would lose. So they've just been inconsistent. You mix that with Grand Canyon's crowd and Bryce Drew, and they do have surprisingly, I know, I think the average college basketball fan doesn't realize that they actually have a pretty good NIL. They were able to stockpile that roster because that school's got money. People don't know that. That school's got a lot of money. So I went with Grand Canyon. I just think they're a better roster with the home crowd behind them. But at 9.5 now, I think you'd probably jump in on Nevada because I don't know that Grand Canyon would just destroy them by 20. Nevada's got some guys. So I'm gonna stay away from the in-game bet because I'm on Grand Canyon. But if you're just looking to get a piece of this game, I do think maybe you take Nevada plus 9.5.
And Grand Canyon, as Colby mentioned, the average person has no idea who they are, even casual fans. Their quarterly financials, $308 million. That's their quarterly financial. Unlike other schools that just rob money,
Yeah.
don't disclose the numbers. Grand Canyon guys, I've been talking about them for years, Colby. I told people to invest in their stock when it was like $8, like when it came out. I said, this is fascinating. Like when they were created, I was like, wow. It's the only university, guys, that's on the stock market. So as Colby mentioned, they have money. Their stocks as of right now, closing today, Colby, $164 a share. That's a serious number. Like that's like a blue chip like stock. It's been going up for years. It's listed under LOPE on the NASDAQ. And basically it's fun too, guys, because the more successful they get in basketball, the more the enrollment goes up and the more money that the stock makes. And to see like how it's gone up over the years, and they knew the correlation between the two. Let's put money in a basketball program, and then people want to enroll and we'll get hype and it'll put our name on the map, but we'll stay away from football because that costs so much money. And remember, Colby, they hired Dan Marley as their original coach, and they've always been super aggressive with this. And yeah, they're killing it. Like they're most of their courses are online. They have a token campus and stuff, but they know the money's online. All right, so many games I want to throw at Colby Danta kicking it with us right now. I am Gabriel Morency, but obviously we've got to talk about Miami, Ohio. You and I have spoken quite often throughout the regular season. You've been pro Miami, deserving a shot. You brought up a million times how they've tried to book tougher opponents, non-conference opponents, and for the past couple of years, people knew that they were a sleeping giant and didn't want to play them. And now people punish them by saying, well, they never played anybody. They did have a lot of close games against inferior opponents. No one can dispute this. They end up losing today by 4 to UMass. ESPN's bracketology's got them at a 38% chance only of making the tournament now, Colby. Do they get in? Yes or no, in your opinion? And I'll just quickly say, my gut feel is they get thrown in Dayton in the play-in, one of the play-in games. What's your take? Do they deserve to get in? Nobody watches as much college ball as you do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was on UMass Moneyline today, and I thought it was a great spot. UMass almost got them the first 2 times, specifically the first one. I thought they should have won. But I think, what are we doing if they're not in? They went undefeated in the regular season in a MAC that I actually think is not that terrible. I think Akron is actually really good. I think Akron is a team that can actually win a game or two in March, considering, I mean, depending on the matchup. So I don't. Okay, maybe the bottom of the conference has some bad teams, but I think the conference is actually solid as a mid-major conference. So I would have, like, what are we doing if we're not doing this? And another thing that really I don't think people have woken up to, and I saw Frank Martin's press conference, but it's something that I've addressed on our show, is that, they're using the preseason numbers as part of their algorithm in Ken Palms and Bart Torvik's. That is jaded from the start. The more that we do this, you got to remember, folks, we put so much money into this, or so much into these analytics. These analytics have been a moving goalpost, and now that the Power Five know how to manipulate these numbers, I really think we're doing a disservice to college basketball by putting so much weight into the analytics. They tried to schedule aggressively. No one wanted to schedule them. They also whiffed on UNC Asheville, who'd been to the tournament, like 2 or 3 years and played in their conference championship game like the last 4 or 5 years. Greensboro's normally good in the SoCon. They're not that good this year. Their best players playing in the Power Five now for the Houston Cougars, right? So, I mean, you have these things. It's hard to project how these teams are going to shape out each year. They did their best trying to schedule. I believe that's a legit gripe. I've talked to many coaches. I was talking to Randy Bennett at St. Mary's, and he was saying that they can't get anyone to schedule them because they're too good. They're too good. So what are we doing? They are deserving. They went 31-0. They deserve to be in, and I'd still be offended if they're in the play-in spot, because I don't even think they should be in the play-in spot. You should be soundly in if you go undefeated. I don't even care if you're in the SWAC or the NEC. Undefeated's undefeated. Move along. They should almost write a rule. If you go 25 or 26-0, to me at that point, you're in.
Well, what are you saying my deal is, too, and I agree, in the sense of, so you're going to tell, like, the MAC that basically, unless you guys go undefeated, you'll never get 2 teams in our tournament? Like, that's the criteria? It's like, so you got to go undefeated and win. Like, no, that 31-0 wasn't good enough. No, you needed to win a couple of more. And now we'll let you in the back door still. Then what are we doing, as we stated? So, like, thank God Auburn lost today, right? Just for the sake of, just to get rid of them and shut them up. Because if they would have won a couple of more games, it would have made the Pearls look good. And I don't want to see the Pearls look good now.
And remember what they said last year. This is what bothers me about the committee members, is last year Texas and North Carolina got in when they had no business getting in. No business getting in, right? West Virginia was the team that really got, odd man out, which the analytics backed West Virginia. But their excuse was, well, their best player was injured, even though they had beaten Kansas and a couple other good schools without their best player. Well, they moved the goalposts. What about this year? I look at BYU. 2 of their best players are out. Do you kick them out then? Because that based on the criteria you used last year, they should be kicked out. What about Duke? Duke's got 2 guys out right now.
Bias.
Yeah.
We see a lot of the same bias that we see in the college football world. But let's get to some picks, because we can go on and on. So speaking of a team that flies under the radar, bro, in my opinion, and you and I have talked about this team as well this year, TCU. So they play Kansas tonight, guys. They were up by like 13-14 with like 2 minutes left. They were up by 9 points with less than a minute left when they went into to Kansas, to Lawrence, earlier this year. We're talking about a TCU team, guys. They've beaten Texas Tech, Wisconsin, Florida, Iowa State. 4-point loss against the Michigan Wolverines, close game earlier this year that looks a lot better as the year has gone on. I wish I was getting more than a 5.5 tonight, but the odds makers, they know TCU were good, so they're not going to give us more than 5.5. What's your quick take on that one? And I want your Fullerton. We got to hit the West Coast stuff where you're at. So any opinion on the TCU game?
Yeah, I actually went with Kansas here. I just think the fact that TCU is 9-1 on their last 10, won 6 in a row. I think Kansas was caught sleeping the first matchup. They're going to be ready for this one. And this isn't Kansas City. So this is almost like the Fog, where it's a really tough environment. But I do like TCU long term. I think they're a very dangerous team in the NCAA tournament.
All right, we got to hit a little UC Davis because I know you can. UC Davis, Cal State, Fullerton. Feels to me like Fullerton is the side in this game. And we got UC San Diego and Cal State Northridge. UC San Diego, they're not as good as they were last year, obviously, but I still have that belief in them that they find a way to win these games in a tournament like this. And then you got UCLA Rutgers. So we got like 45 seconds. What's your take on the West Coast action tonight?
Yeah, first I like Rutgers in the points because that game's in Chicago, and UCLA's been terrible in every other time zone. But as far as the Big West, I went with Northridge, though. I think San Diego it's year one. Eric Olin left for New Mexico, and the assistant from last year, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he's doing a really good job this year. I just think Northridge and Randy Newman playing good basketball, kind of flying under the radar a little bit there, so I went with Northridge. We see eye to eye in the Fullerton game. Fullerton's come on strong. Davis just won a rivalry game against UC Santa Barbara, and Fullerton's just sitting there waiting. So I think Fullerton is a team that can give them issues. So, yeah, let's go. Big West is the best.
I'm waiting for the Mick Cronin complaint conference. How come the Big Ten tournament's not in L.A.? All right, it's time for our best bets of the night. And a lot of stuff going on tonight. As we stated, you got a full slate of NHL hockey. We had George Kurtz on with us earlier. He's putting together a couple of chalky parlays, and I'm not going to call him out for it because I like. We'll get to our NHL plays in a second here, but I think if the favorites are going to get it done tonight, or we're going to have to lay a price for some of the totals, etc. But speaking of totals, Xavier and UConn. So as we talked about, listen, guys, it's conference tournament time right now. A team like Xavier, this is it, right? So it's going to be pedal to the metal right now. Coaches have given up yelling to play defense and all that at this time of the year with a lot of these teams. It's like, all right, let's just go and have fun and try to outscore them. Because also, if you're Xavier, we're not going to slow the game down and beat UConn, all right? What are we going to do? Like, we're going to outsmart them and try to, no. So what do you do if you're playing UConn? Let's try to outscore them, right? Let's try to outscore them. And that's what happens when these two teams play. 8 of the last 10 times these two teams have played, it's gone over the number. Xavier are a smoking hot over team right now. 9 of their last 10 games have gone over the number, and 7 of UConn's last 10 games have gone over the number. It's a moderate number at 150. It's reasonable enough. This game gets into the mid 150s. Let's go Xavier, UConn over. TCU, they were getting 5.5, 6. It's down to an even 5 right now, I see. Listen, Peterson's a badass. I don't care that he's missed a couple of games. He's an awesome player. But, TCU were good. Like, TCU beat the Florida Gators, who people think can win the national championship. TCU hung with the Michigan Wolverines earlier this year when Michigan were smoking everybody. TCU beat Iowa State. They beat Texas Tech. They beat Wisconsin. TCU can ball. I think this game is going to be a close game. I'm taking, and I like Kansas too. I've got a soft spot in my heart for the Jayhawk program, but I think that the Horned Frogs are the play here tonight. As far as the NBA is concerned, so Bam Adebayo obviously went off for the 83 the other night, and now it's 22.5. So you'd think, all right, obviously there's going to be a regression, but he's been super consistent this year. And it's funny because you hear a lot of people say, oh, he's not a scorer, yet he scored all these points. Well, I mean, he's not a scorer. He's averaging nearly 21 points a game. I mean, the guy's been super consistent. He's been the best player for the Miami Heat all year, and I think that's why he broke the record. Broke a record. That's why he set, past Kobe. Spoelstra threw him a bone, right? Bam Adebayo, works his ass off every night, at both ends of the court and stuff. There's a lot of dudes in the NBA that could go off and score 100 points, but they can't, they're not going to get the shots. The coach won't let it happen. So it was one of those, you know what? The coach was like, you know what? He's a good dude. He plays his ass off for me. I'm going to let him go off here tonight and rack up a bunch of points. And, it is, and man, God, the outrage about it now, it's unbelievable. But I'm going to go back. I say he lights it up again tonight. And normally, too, this is the psychology of this, too. Normally, a guy off a massive game, a no-hitter, a hat trick in hockey, whatever, you want to fade them in the next game. What if a player does something spectacular and all they hear for 48 hours is how they suck and how they don't belong to be mentioned, and everybody has a reason why it's not cool what he did. How do you think, how is he going to react tonight? It's not like Milwaukee play defense either. So let's go Bam Adebayo over 22.5. Let's go with my man, De'Aaron Fox. Right? De'Aaron Fox flies under the radar. The San Antonio Spurs are, the hottest team in the league since the New Year, since the NBA Cup and stuff. They're a badass team. And people talk about Victor Wembanyama, but people don't talk about Stephon Castle enough. People don't talk about De'Aaron Fox enough. Specifically, and they're both awesome, but De'Aaron Fox has been great. And a lot of people wondered how is he going to fit with this team. Right? His style and stuff. And man, he's fit perfectly. And he's just a scoring machine. Right? And he gets, if you look at it, super consistent with De'Aaron Fox. He takes 18 shots a game, almost every game. And his prop is 17.5 tonight. No Jason Tatum for the record, unfortunately. So let's go with Fox over 17.5. Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. Super fun hockey game. Should be a bunch of goals in this game. Let's go over 1.5 in the first period of play. And this isn't rocket science. The Vancouver Canucks have played 31 home games. They've won 6 of them. Give me the Nashville Predators tonight. Minus 165 on the road in Vancouver. Vancouver actually a better road team. Shout out to our boy Temple Koski in the house. May the winners be yours.
Could you see a world where Duke is upset in an ACC tournament?
The fact that they're not an up-and-down running team, half-court offense, strong guard play, dynamic inside with Boozer, I think out of all the top teams, I think Duke is the least likely to get picked off in their conference tournament.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Put Zach Branch on the Buffalo Bills on the football field at the same time with Cook and these wide receivers, and you have Branch set up in a slot in motion and stuff, and you put that speed. I want a game difference maker. DJ Moore's not a difference maker, right? He helps, he's good, right? But it's not that game changer. But to me, Kevin, they need game changers on the defensive side of the football.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I really wish I could pull out my crystal ball and predict accurately the future and, put money on it and see if I could win. But I think the answer of where we're heading is more uncertainty, and in the short term, more companies, like you mentioned, trying to capitalize on that. When prediction markets first kind of took off this past year, there was a little bit of a hesitancy from sports books.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Well, still, even though he gave up that home run, Tom, you know the number's going to be there. If he stays healthy, who's touching that guy?
Well, you mentioned him. The only player I've interest in betting on for the AL Cy Young this year would be Brian Wu. And it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of the odds. It's a combination of his underlying skill set, where I believe he's trending in terms of his career.
Pro baseball today, only on SportsGrid.